Welcome to the channel. Today, we're gonna get this 1997 SS rolling. And you can see that there is no rear end in it right now. Now, horsepower goals on this car is around 750 to 800 horsepower. And I'm gonna need a rear end that can handle that on the street. The simple solution would be go with a 9-inch. But that'd be too easy. And if you've watched my channel before, I just built a 488 for that car. But before I built that one, I purchased a Ford Explorer rear end and I pressed the tubes out of it. We got movement! And then it ended up in this shape. I had it sandblasted, but it's been sitting for a while. Then I hired my buddy Brian to go ahead and turn them down so they'll fit inside the housing. A lot of people say that Ford Explorers, F-150s, have 3 1/4 axle tubes. They don't. They are just slightly different. So this is how I was originally planning on building an 8.8 for an F-body until I found out that there was a vehicle that had one that was wide enough. I'm not going to let this go to waste. Let's get to it. When I raced dirt cars, we had something called a quick changer end. And whenever you've been in an axle tube, you'd go ahead and heat up the housing, you'd pull the axle tube out, and then you'd heat the housing again, freeze the other tube, and it would drop right in. What we found with the 488 is they were a press fit, and the axle tubes were 5 thousandths larger than what the bore was. And that is a very tight press fit, and that's one of the reasons why they're such a pain to press out. So I'm making this more of a tap to fit. So the goal is to be able to heat this housing up, it's going to expand, and this tube should drop down in there, maybe with a couple taps. Let's see how hot we got it. About 300 degrees is where we're at. And the other axle tube should be room temperature, which is about 56 degrees in here at the moment. Okay. All right, game time. Let's see how this works. Woo! We'll give it a couple taps, make sure it's still seated. Now we got that cold tube in this housing. You can already see that's starting to shrink up. So we're gonna let this cool off. We'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. So before I pick this up and move it, let's see what we got for temperature. It's cooled down to about 190. Now before you guys talk about this being a possible looser fit than factory, it's gonna be all right. Not only will we plug weld these, but we'll weld the tubes to the housing as well. There it is. I've officially retubed an 8.8. So I guess we should figure out what we're gonna use for brackets. And honestly, that's no brainer. We're gonna use these FM brackets for F-bodies, specifically for the 3 1/4 inch tube. If you haven't seen these before, there's a reason why. These are exclusively here. These are the only 2 sets I have in existence. One on there, one on here, but this is the final mock-up. And as soon as this goes together and is in the car and fits great, which I have confidence it will, you should be able to find these in the store along with a video on my channel, how to put them together. Let's throw it together. First thing I'm gonna do is get the pinion set to 0 here. And if I was doing this all the time, I'd probably build a jig so it was a little bit easier to do. But this is gonna work. There we go. 0.05 of 1 degree. If they're off 0.05 of a degree and I can't figure out how to adjust my torque arm to get my pinion angle, well, I probably shouldn't be doing this. Now I know the rough measurement that this needs to be from the edge of the housing. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that. And we'll set these on there. And there we are. We're setting perfect. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put the passenger side on, double check all my measurements, make sure I'm good before I tack weld them. So passenger side's on, nothing's tacked up. We're gonna make sure that our measurements 42 3/4 inside of lower control arm bracket to inside, right on the money, 42 3/4. I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple tack welds. You guys wouldn't think I'd forget about the shock mounts, would you? This is a really trick setup. He has some breakaway tabs on it, and it helps you locate the shock mount to make sure that it'll be in the right spot. And then from there, I need to measure center to center my shock bolts, which I had 40 1/4. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna go through all my measurements one more time. Right at 90.35.4. And that's actually having them come downhill a little bit towards the back, which isn't gonna be a big deal because when the pinion angle's set at -2, it'll bring the springs up. Really, if you wanna get technical, the factory ones are set 2 degrees backwards. But when I talked to Ben, he said these were set to be at 0. But I'm telling you right now, you're never gonna notice a difference. As long as these are symmetrical, you're not gonna have any ride height problems, and the geometry is gonna be just fine. Gotta stick the truing bar in here. So now I got that truing bar in, you can see how easy it spins here. Pretty minimal effort. I'll put my puck in this 9-inch end here. Oh, that's really nice. That thing's perfectly in the center of that tube. Now I know that this is gonna be too wide, but I know what my flange to flange measurement needs to be. So I'm putting the flanges on, taking my measurements, and then I'll cut it off. I made a little bit of a mistake. Typically I use a pipe fitter's wrap to make my straight lines, to be able to cut the tube to length. But because I had already put my brackets on, I couldn't fit the wrap on there. So what I did is I printed a sleeve. That way I could just slide this on and off and get a straight line all the way around. Now I can measure to my housing, to the edge of there, and get my measurement exactly where I need it to be. And just like that, it's all painted. I did put my UMI shock relocation mounts on it. It's not because the FM ones that come with the control arm brackets on this rear end aren't good enough. I just already had them, so it saved me a little bit of welding. So I went ahead and reused them. I'll end up using those shock relocation brackets on the other car. And on this one, I also went with the 1350 yoke. I purchased that through PEM. I used to buy a lot of products through them when I raced dirt cars, and they just happen to have that 8/8 yoke on there. Fit great. I'm not sure if my drive shaft's gonna work with that the right length, but we'll figure it out. These are the QP axles I ordered for them. I was gonna throw them in, but I wanna soak these in some Evapo-Rust first, just so I can paint them up. Not only that, now the housing's gonna be a lot easier for me to handle without the axles in it. Before I set this rear end housing in there, I'm gonna go ahead and put these shocks on the body. These are some QA1 single adjustables. And these things are ancient. They're from the early 2000s. I picked them up off my buddy Dave years ago with my old car, and they've just been sitting in storage for a while. So we're gonna go ahead and throw these on. This might be a 2-person job, I'm not sure. You can see I already took the old one off, and then I have the UMI control arms there. This car is kind of a hodgepodge of all different brand suspension parts. There's UMI, there's Midwest Chassis, there's BMR, there's some of the ones that we made for FM, there's ones that I've made. And the only reason why that is when I built my first car, I went with whatever I could afford. So the majority of the time that was used things. And anyways, I can't really bring myself to buying all new suspension parts just to match. That kind of seems pointless and a big waste of money. So next thing I'm gonna put on is this BMR Panhard relocation bar. Now the other car that's lowered, you watched me modify the stock one for more exhaust clearance. And keep in mind, I was only running 3-inch exhaust on that, so a regular size catback. On this one, I'm gonna try to run either a 3.5 or 4-inch catback on it because of the turbo. So I really needed a lot of room. With that bar, they sent 2 of these plates, they sent some bolts and some nuts, and we're gonna see if we cannot figure out how to put that on. So one of the things I noticed is these are a factory bolt. You can see how they have a shoulder and they're stepped, and that's so the bigger hole fits right in, and that goes to a smaller one right here. Now I would love to say that we could just make this work and that'd go right through, but it does not. We're gonna have to drill these bigger. I have enough of these I can make them work, but here's the problem. Put this bolt through here and put this on. We're gonna have a lot of slop going back and forth, and I just don't think that that slop is gonna be a good thing to have that Panhard bar on. So we'll get the drill out. Let's make those just a little bit bigger. Now there's some bare metal there, and we don't want that to be there because it'll rust. And if you remember a couple episodes ago, when I painted the bottom of this car in Rust-Oleum, I said I liked it that way because if we ever needed to drill or weld, we could touch it up with a rattle can. Here we are. Now that's painted and dried, we should be able to put this on here. I think we're gonna need the spacer. Like so. Now that's through, we'll take this one across there, we'll get it started. Gotta get this one halfway started in the back. There should be all types of room for some exhaust. I think I'm gonna need to build a heat shield right here still. Protect this. Put this rear end on a dolly. Let's go ahead and push it over to the car here. So we can't figure out this control arm. Close. There it goes. I'll put a nut on the back of this one, a nut on this one. Perfect. We'll do that on the other side, then we'll get to the panhard bar. Well, I got to thinking, and I need to put the differential cover on before I end up putting in the panhard bar. And I want to make sure the axles fit all right before I get to that point. Those axles fit pretty decent. I do have full engagement of the splines in the carrier. I do think the next time I order them, I'll probably order them, I don't know, maybe like another 3/16 of an inch longer. That way they go through, they won't be touching the pin, but it's just going to be a little bit past the spider gear in there. Getting these T-bolts in here to hold the brake backing plates. Nice thing about these axles is they actually have an access hole in them. So you can just kind of go around and get right on your T-bolt. I'm not going to put the brake calipers on this quite yet. I need to clean those up. And I just thought I need to run all the brake lines to it. And I think that I want to get on the hoist where I can stand under it to run all that stuff. So the goal right now is just get everything loosely fitted so I can get the car on some dollies where I can roll back on the hoist and I can finish tightening up everything and then move on to the brake lines. Do you guys even want to see me run brake lines? I mean, that's some long, tedious, boring stuff. But if you guys want to see all the details, comment below and I'll do it. I just don't know if I personally would sit there and watch someone do brake lines. So I usually try to make videos over something that I would watch. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on this girdle cover. Now you guys know I am always on a budget, and this girdle cover is straight from Amazon. It's about 50 or 55 bucks. I put one of these on my other car, and I'm just going to save you some of the headache I found with running this cheaper cover versus $150 or $200 Ford Motorsports or TA. The cover comes with these 1¼ inch 5/16 by 18 thread pitch bolts. They are too long. Not only that, with the black oxide, they rust really quick. So the last one I cut off about 3/8 of an inch, and I did use these, but they're already rusty on the other car. So I went ahead and spent another $10 on Amazon and got these stainless steel 1 inch 5/16 bolts, and they're still just a little too long. In order to make them work, I'm having to run a lock washer and then a regular washer on top of them. I think a 3/4 inch long bolt would probably be just perfect, but I'm worried that it's going to be just a little too short, so I'm just going to run it this way. The cover actually comes with lock washers and flat washers itself to stack, but it'd still be too long to use. So we're going to run these 1 inch bolts. Stainless, shouldn't rust. Hopefully everything fits a lot better. We'll find out. Now, unfortunately, the gasket has a lot left to be desired too, but we're going to give it a shot. Last time I think it leaked because, well, I know that those bolts are too long. Get that one started. And then you can see I backed these all the way out for the cap supports. That's because I don't want them hitting while I'm tightening it down. Not only that, we're going to run some PTFE paste on it because it will leak. The other downfall of this cover is there's no instructions, so you have no clue what to torque it down to. I think last time I just followed the instructions to the Ford Motorsports or Ford Racing cover. Looks like their instructions say 20 to 25 foot-pounds, so we're going to split that in the middle and go 22. Seems to be a common GM torque spec, and it makes me feel better using that on a Ford rear end. And we'll do cross patterns here. Make sure we get it all even. I'm going to go ahead and leave these right now, but I will eventually torque these to 5 foot-pounds. And these will be about another 25 foot-pounds to support it for the jam nuts. But now that that's on there, we should be able to put on our panhard bar. And with a little luck, it should fit right in. Yeah, and there you have it. You can see the alignment of the shocks, the control arms, everything looks good. That fit awesome. But there's a problem. I can't lower it down because there's no coil springs. So I need to go find some of those. I have frequently said on this channel that I have been saving parts for this project for about 20 years. And everything is up in this loft. Make sure I climb up this ladder one-handed since I just fell off one 2 weeks ago. Need an LT1 steam tube? Get a hold of me. I got a lot. BMR lowering springs. I actually picked these up new, but used on Marketplace for $50 about 8 years ago. Well, this should be as easy as sticking these in, I hope. These are notched for the spring. Make sure we get them indexed right. That one's on. Since the Camaro is a torque arm car, the pinion's gonna be way up in the air until I get the torque arm on it, because otherwise, it's not like a 4-link car that has something to locate, or those upper control arms to locate the center section. Did it go? Yes, it did. This currently looks like my control arms are just way out, and that's because they are. So these control arms are off of my other car. I had 28-inch drag radials on it, and I had to really move the tire back in order to get it centered in the wheel well. Since there's no wheels and tires on this right now, I have no clue where they're supposed to be. The good news is, I believe I should be able to go ahead and put some tires on this now. One thing I wanted to point out is these lower control arm holes are actually made for a 12mm bolt, and so is the car side of it. You, my aftermarket control arms, have a 1/2-inch bushing in them, and without these things tightened down, you can really see some movement that we have in there. A lot of this will go away as I tighten that down, but there still is slack in the bushing that's in the control arm, and probably the thing that needs to be done is I need to drill out the brackets that are from FM to 1/2-inch holes, which they're designed to be that way, and then to run a 1/2-inch bolt instead of 12mm. I know when Ben designed this bracket, we were kind of on the fence on what we do, and he wanted to be able to be used with factory control arms, which that's the 12mm hardware that we have, and it's really not that big of a deal to run a 1/2-inch bit through them. I think I'm going to run it this way. If I notice some shimmy or anything like that under brakes or taking off, then I'll probably go ahead and upgrade to the 1/2-inch hardware. If you'd like to admire my yellow ratchet strap job, what that's doing is basically the job of the torque arm. That way I can keep the pinion level and the rear end up, and that way it's not trying to over rotate and putting too much stress on those QA1s. Before we put some tires on it, let's roll under here and see what we accomplished. As we come through, we got our BMR Panhard brace relocation bracket. Went ahead and put our Hotchkiss Panhard on. BMR lowering springs, QA1 shocks installed. We finished assembling and painting the 8.8. It's all welded up and done. Girdle cover on. Our little control arms are in. All that's left is to put some wheels on it so I can get this thing rolling back and forth onto the hoist. Well, the nice thing is the axles fit. So that means that it should be the right width because I ordered the same axles that were in the other car. I accomplished what I set out to do. The SS is back rolling with 4 tires. It does look like it has a lift kit right now. That's mainly because there's still a cart underneath of it from when I had to get it off the hoist to repair that one. Overall, I'm really happy with how everything fit and bolted in. Not happy with how long that gear install took me. I'm so glad that I didn't try to film that because that was awful. But the most important thing is now that I can roll this thing around, I can get it on and off the hoist easy enough so I can accomplish small things at a time. So next thing I'm gonna do with this thing is I need to plumb it, need to do the brake lines, finish the fuel lines on it, and do some wiring on it to get it all set up for flex fuel. After that, I need to do the oil feed line for the turbo and start doing the cold side. So getting really close on that. In the meantime, that dang thing that you guys just watched me fix that grenaded throwout bearing in the last video, I drove it 2 days later, the alternator went out. So I got to replace the alternator on that. That's easy enough. And we might as well just throw a different balancer on it while we're there. So tune into the next one if you want to see that. I appreciate all of you for watching. I know everyone says it in every video, but please like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, costs you absolutely nothing, and it'll continue to help the channel grow. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.